Yo, what's up guys? It's Frosty back for another YouTube video, and in today's video, we're going to cover all of the PvE god rules you'll want to be looking for with the newly reissued Trials of the 9 weapons. With the launch of Destiny 2 Season 15, Season of the Lost, we have some sunset weapons returning with a twist. And in year 1 of D2, Trials was in the game, but it was called Trials of the 9. Trials of the 9 offered a ton of loot with some of the most unique designs we had seen in the game at that time. After Trials of the 9 ended, all the loot went away with it. The launch of the Prophecy Dungeon in Destiny 2 Beyond Light, we actually saw some of the armor from Trials of the 9 make a return, but the community always wondered why the weapons never came back with it. Like I mentioned earlier with the launch of Season 15, the original Trials weapons make their return, and we're about to cover all the PvE god rules you need to be on the lookout for. To acquire these weapons, simply play the Prophecy Dungeon and they will drop randomly. Quick little side note, this is entirely my own opinion. You might have a different god roll that works for you, and that is perfectly fine. Let's get into the god rolls. The first weapon we'll be looking at is the Pulse Rifle, dark as before. This Pulse Rifle might be the most highly anticipated returning Trials weapon. For PvE, we're going to be looking for small bore in the barrel slot, as always a super safe option, adding +7 range and +7 stability with no negative qualities to it. Things like Hammer Forge Rifling for a base +10 range and no negatives is also a great pick. In the second column, we're going to be looking for a mag perk like Appended Mag or Extended Mag. Ideally, Appended Mag for the +20 to your magazine stat with no negatives, whereas Extended Mag gives a +30 to the mag stat, but also -20 to your reload speed stat. However, this can be fixed easily with something like a Reload Masterwork if you happen to roll that. In the third column, for our first actual perk, I'm going to be looking for Subsistence. This perk was recently buffed to no longer hurt your ammo reserves, and it received a passive buff due to the fact that primary ammo is now infinite. With a perk like this, you'll find yourself hardly reloading as long as you're shredding those adds. And in the fourth column, I'll be looking for Frenzy, but One for All is also a great damage perk. And finally, for Masterwork, you can get away with just about anything, but personally, I would love to have a range Masterwork or even reload speed. That should do it for the darkest before. Let me know what role you're going for in the comment section below. Next up, we're going to be looking at the Sniper Rifle, the Long Walk. The Sniper is an aggressive frame, 72 RPM, and actually has some potentially great roles for sustained DPS. For the barrel, same as the Pulse, we'll be going for small bore or hammer forged rifling. Both fluted barrel and corkscrew rifling are top tier for this as well. In the second column, you absolutely need a mag perk, considering the Sniper has a default mag size of only 3. Appended Mag is again my go-to for the mag increase with no negatives to reload speed. However, Extended Mag will still get the job done if you happen to roll it. Now for our first perk in the third column, we're going to want either Clone Cartridge or Overflow. Both of these will drastically increase our magazine size, which will help us continue our sustained damage with avoiding having to reload as much as possible. Clone Cartridge will overfill the magazine to a random number after reloading, and we've seen this perk sometimes double our magazine just from reloading. Overflow is also a great pick because picking up special or heavy ammo will straight up double your mag size. This is definitely an amazing perk, but more situational than something like Clown Cartridge, where all you have to do is reload. And in the fourth column, we're aiming for Firing Line or Frenzy, preferably Firing Line in my opinion. Firing Line increases your precision damage for simply being near 2 or more allies. Obviously, this is situational, but for any fire team boss fight, this perk is going to increase your damage by a significant amount, pairs great with perks like Clown Cartridge. Frenzy is another great damage perk, but requires you to be in combat and is just not as worth it for boss DPS compared to Firing Line in my opinion. Still an S tier perk however. And finally for Masterwork. If you have Clown Cartridge, you'll definitely want a Reload Masterwork so you can reload slightly faster to proc Clown even quicker. If you use Firing Line, you can get away with really anything other than stability, but I'd prefer range or handling. That's it for the Long Walk. Next up, we'll be covering the Hand Cannon Judgment. For your first column, sights like Fast Draw, Steady Hand, and Hitmark are all great picks due to how balanced they are. However, since these are actual sights for a hand cannon and not just a barrel, there's a lot of personal preference that comes into play for these. So just go for whatever looks and feels best to you. Not much of a surprise here, but in the second column we'll be looking for another mag perk. Same thing as always, Appended Mag is my go-to. The Tactical and Extended Mag are also great for this. Even Flared Mag was nice, but we'll definitely want to be bumping that 9 mag size up a bit. For third column on this one, I would go for Demolitionist or Slide Shot depending on your build slash playstyle. If you use grenade heavy builds, obviously Demo is the play, but if you find yourself using your gun more than your abilities, then Slide Shot will be a great pick for you. Sliding will partially reload your magazine as well as temporarily boost your range and stability stats, Overall, a solid perk. And in the final column, I would aim for multi-kill clip, the new perk Adagio or timed payload. Multi-kill clip is a solid damage perk, but unfortunately Slideshot does not proc it, so you'll be wanting a reload masterwork as well as potentially a hand cannon loader mod on your gauntlets. The new perk, Adagio, sounds like a cool new perk, but I'll need to mess around with it before I have any final thoughts on it. As far as timed payload goes, it's definitely a solid pick for more endgame pieces of content as it staggers enemies, which can save your life in something like a GM. So definitely not a bad perk to hold on to if it drops. For masterwork, my pick would be range or reload, but handling also will feel nice. And that does it for the Judgment Hand Cannon. Now for the shotgun, a sudden death. The shotty is an aggressive frame, which did just receive a pretty big nerf in PvP. However, in PvE, the shotty still has some great roles to offer. For your barrel, full choke, rifled, or corkscrew all work. Full choke is great because it tightens your pellet spread, but it does hurt your precision damage. Although, you probably aren't going to be going for massive precision damage, with an aggressive frame, something like slugs exists. Rifled is another great barrel for that range, but it does cause a big drop to your handling speed, which is unfortunate with the recent handling changes. And corkscrew is all around balanced. Second column, my go-to on a shotgun is assault mag for the boost to rate of fire. Appended is never a bad idea here either. For a third column, threat detector and surplus are my picks here. If you enjoy 1-2 punch builds, like the Hunter's Liar's Handshake exotic, then Grave Robber would be a perfect perk for your third column. And 1-2 punch just so happens to be in the fourth column. But I personally would prefer threat detector paired with frenzy, or even surrounded with a surrounded spec mod. In masterwork, I would aim for range or handling even for PvE. That'll do it for the sudden death shotgun. Next up, we have the Last Breath auto rifle. ARs do have anti-barrier this season, so getting a god roll-less AR could be very beneficial. For a barrel, small bore and corkscrew are going to be the best. Small bore is going to give us that +7 range and +7 to stability with no negatives. Corkscrew is a very balanced barrel overall. In our second column, there's a lot that we can work with. So in my opinion, any of the following are great. Appended mag, ricochet rounds, high caliber rounds, and even flared magwell. For our first perk in the third column, Subsistence is an easy pick for me. As I mentioned earlier, the perk received a nice buff as well as a passive buff with the infinite primary ammo change this season. To further this weapon's ad shredding potential, Frenzy will be an S tier perk to have in the fourth column. A constant buff to damage and minimal reloading is a perfect combo. One for All can also get the job done in that fourth column. In my opinion, for masterwork, anything will work great with this AR. However, I don't see handling having much use on this weapon, to be honest. And for the final Trials of the 9 weapon, last but certainly least, you heard me right, the Sidearm. Fortunately, Sidearms don't really have a place to shine in the current sandbox due to SMGs just being a better version of them. I've heard that some Sidearms on controller slap in PvP, but we're here to talk about PvE today. To be completely honest, I'm no Sidearm expert, so for the site we'll just be looking for something well balanced. It looks like short spec, control, and quick dot are the play. The second column, anything from appended to ricochet to high cal will do the job. In our third column, threat detector, killing wind, and surplus are going to be the best PvE perks this gun has to offer. Finally, in the fourth column, without a doubt, go for kill clip. But if you had to choose a second, I would aim for surrounded with a surrounded spec mod. And that does it for our final weapon, the Swift Verdict Sidearm. If you made it this far into the video, thank you. Feel free to comment your favorite god roll from these new Trials of the 9 weapons. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please make sure to subscribe with notifications on as well as like the video. Have a great one, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.